in-depth, investigative. This is KXAN News Today.
And today, family, fellow officers, and the community will say goodbye to Officer Jorge Pastor. It is his final patrol later on this morning. I'm Sally Hernandez.
And I'm Erica Brenes. He is the first Austin police officer to be killed in the line of duty in over a decade. Ahead of the proceedings, thin blue line flags representing police have appeared on 6th Street to show support for the fallen officer. The procession will pass through East 6th this morning. We spoke with the president-elect of the Austin Police Association. He spoke about the department's tough task ahead, laying their friend and comrade to rest.
It's a heavy burden. It's not something we ever want to do, but when it does happen, we want to make sure we do it right, especially when we have someone like Officer Pastor who dedicated his life to this profession and to helping others and to looking out for his fellow officers. He is someone who is truly deserving of being honored appropriately.
Wanted to give you an idea of how you can go ahead and pay respect to Officer Pastor. There is the procession route that we have for you on our website, and we know that it's going to begin at Weed Corley Fish Funeral Home on Parkcrest Drive near 2222 Mopac. From there, it's going to go through various streets and highways, including Mopac to 183, I-35, then to the state capitol. And then from there, it's going to go I-35 to 71 to SH 130 to the Circuit of the Americas for visitation, and then funeral services are going to follow at the amphitheater.
Austin ISD sent out a note saying to anticipate serious traffic delays to both bus routes and morning commutes. All roadways along the procession, they will be shut down to any traffic along the full processional line as it passes. The district does expect the delays to be mostly with middle and high school buses. And just a heads up, tardiness because of the event will not be counted against the students, but absences will not be excused. Also, the airport expects more traffic because it's along the procession route. It's also the start of Thanksgiving travel. So if you're headed there this morning, prepare for road closures on 71 and SH 130 and added times in the TSA lines. KXAN will honor the legacy of Officer Pastor by bringing you live coverage of the procession and funeral throughout the city to the ceremony at COTA. We'll have full coverage throughout this morning.
And because the funeral services are outside, you know, at the amphitheater at COTA, there's a lot of people questioning the weather. How is that going to be for them?
I think fog is going to be an issue. We're already starting to see some of that dense fog this morning. Let me show you what it looks like out at COTA at this hour. Temperatures will be fine. It'll be chilly in the 50s as we've been recently, but you could see the visibility is the biggest problem right now. We've got low visibility across most of the I-35 corridor, eastern counties. They have went ahead and issued a dense fog advisory for the Austin Metro, as well as most of the eastern counties, and that's going to run us until 10 a.m. So we're going to be in the long haul here when it comes to the low visibilities and that fog, so be sure to factor in extra time for your morning commute. For those who are going to be honoring Officer Pastor today with the procession, I want to tell you the temperatures will gradually warm to the 60s in the noontime hour, but we won't stop there. We will get those 70s back eventually, but today marks one of two cold fronts in the 7-day forecast. It comes in mainly quiet, but the second cold front I don't think is going to be that quiet. So coming up, we'll talk about what to expect heading into the weekend. That stronger cold front will have more of an impact to the numbers, so we'll talk about that and an early look at your Thanksgiving holiday. Everything you need to know coming up in your first morning forecast.
Kristen, thank you. Sentencing begins today for Caitlin Armstrong. A jury found her guilty yesterday of murdering pro cyclist Mo Wilson, and today we could hear from the defense as well as family members.
Armstrong killed Wilson in May of 2022 at an apartment in East Austin. Prosecutors say Armstrong's motive was jealousy over Wilson's friendship with Armstrong's then boyfriend. Deliberations start this morning at 9.
The latest twist in the ongoing legal saga of Alex Murdaugh. While the once prominent South Carolina attorney convicted of murdering his wife and son is serving a life sentence, the judge who played a critical role in that case stepping aside.
72-year-old Judge Clifton Newman was already set to retire at the end of the year, but has now officially stepped aside and asked that a new judge be assigned to handle the post-trial motions. Murdaugh's legal team has been asking for a new judge and a new trial. They suggest that the judge professed his views on the murder case in a post-verdict interview that he did with the Today Show.
After the verdict, the judge publicly expressed his opinion that the defendant was guilty. So the defense argument is that that same judge can't now preside over the issue of whether the defendant got a fair trial and whether this jury was tainted.
Coming up on Today, an analyst breaks down the request and what could come next. A government shutdown, it's been avoided.
Yeah, after the Senate overwhelmingly passed the two-step continuing resolution bill with an 11 to 87 vote, the continuing resolution bill will fund the government through early next year. The bill now heads over to the president's desk for him to sign before the deadline of 12:01 a.m. Saturday. The bill splits government funding into two groups. Some departments get funded through January 19th, others through February 2nd. So it means Congress will have to deal with two more government shutdown deadlines in early 2024.
Blue Genie Art Bazaar, it's returning today for its 23rd holiday season. The annual holiday tradition will include products created by more than 200 local artists and available for purchase at the Blue Genie Big Top on Airport Boulevard. The Holiday Bazaar, it's open until Christmas Eve for all of you last-minute holiday shoppers.
Well, what the jury is deciding for the man accused of attacking Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi's husband.
Why a new law is getting pushback from the Mexican government as the law plans to tighten enforcement at the Texas-Mexico border. Good morning. It is 4:39 on this Friday as you look live at the Circuit of the Americas. Right now, a bit of a foggy start to your Friday morning, but overall roadways right now looking okay. A jury found the man accused of attacking Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi's husband with a hammer guilty.
A federal jury declared David Tapap guilty on all charges in the attack of the 83-year-old Paul Pelosi inside his own home in San Francisco in October of last year. In the courtroom, Tapap showed no emotion when the hearing of the verdict was handed to the judge for charges of attempted kidnapping and assault on an immediate family member of a federal official. He faces up to life in federal prison now when it comes to sentencing. Nearly 450 patients at a Massachusetts hospital may have been exposed to hepatitis B and C. They were exposed to HIV because of bad practices when giving IV medications. The potential exposures involve endoscopy patients over a roughly 2-year period. Officials with Salem Hospital say they were first made aware of the issue just earlier this year. Wow, they say the practice has been corrected. A letter was sent to patients who were potentially impacted. The hospital says so far no reports of infections.
A burglar stalking an East Austin neighborhood. Why some residents are losing sleep and living on edge.
With Thanksgiving just around the corner, how cooking the meal can be a fire hazard. You don't want that to happen in your kitchen. A demonstration of what could go wrong if you fry your bird incorrectly.
Longhorns hitting the road later today for Iowa State, and the kicking game has become a key for this Texas team, and their kicker has been on quite a roll. More on that coming up.
Good morning. This is a live look that we have for you from the Circuit of the Americas, and you can see that it is foggy. An early start to your Friday. This is also going to be the site where hundreds, if not thousands of people are going to come together and honor fallen officer Jorge Pastor. We'll have more on that coverage for you throughout the day. Now, over the past several months, demand levels have risen at the Central Texas Food Bank with an average of 370,000 people served every month. And then on top of that, leaders are saying that the number of people seeking services is at or surpassing levels that they've seen at the onset of the coronavirus pandemic.
Our digital reporter Kelsey Thompson sat down with Mark Jackson, the Chief Development Officer at the Central Texas Food Bank, to give us some insight.
Walk me through, how does the current need level compare to what y'all were seeing in spring 2020 with the onset of the pandemic?
Yeah, I think over the course of the last 4 or 5 months, we've seen just a steady increase in the number of people seeking our services. We're now at the same level as the peak of the pandemic, if not slightly more. This is an alarming outcome, but we think it's a perfect storm of a couple things. Primarily, the reduction in the pandemic era SNAP benefits earlier in the spring, coupled with just the massive increase in inflation and the cost of living in Austin, and it's just really putting a pinch on families and making it hard for them to keep food on the table.
And I know y'all cover, several, like nearly 24 counties here in Central Texas with services. When we were talking earlier, you said it's really a lot of the rural counties that you're seeing strong pockets of need right now. Can you walk through a little bit more what y'all are seeing and how it stacks to some of your other service area?
We have an incredible need here in our 21 counties. 1 in 7 people are at risk of hunger, 1 in 5 children at risk of hunger in the 21 counties we serve. But we definitely see different types of hunger and different levels of need, both in the rural and urban areas. Higher ratios of our neighbors are in need in our rural areas, and they are also spread out and more difficult to serve because there's not as many services available to them.
I imagine the holiday season is one of the busier times of year for y'all. So compounded with the increasing demand level you're seeing right now, how are y'all heading into the holiday season, and what do you want to let folks know about the needs right now, or ways that they can help support, especially in the holiday season right now?
Yeah, the holidays are always a busy time for the Central Texas Food Bank, but this is a particularly tough one for us with the increased need. We are doing everything we can to secure the resources needed to do all of our distributions, but it really will take the community stepping up and contributing both monetary donations and their time through volunteerism. The model is so dependent on the community. It's more than just the food bank itself. It's the literally tens of thousands of donors that come together and make sure that we have the resources we need.
Kelsey has more on specific ways you can help the Central Texas Food Bank on KXAN.com right now and all year long. Just head over and click on this story.
Yeah, I'm going to give you an easy one right here. KXAN's Friendsgiving Challenge continues for just a few more days. So grab your phone, scan the QR code right there on your screen. You can make a donation now. And just for perspective here, about 1 in 4 children in Central Texas are at risk of hunger, and that's 1 in 7 adults. More than 90% of those people here are not homeless. So we're trying to break down some of the stereotypes here of those who rely on the Central Texas Food Bank for help. So KXAN.com/Friendsgiving. If you just Google KXAN Friendsgiving, that link will pop up. Team David, Team Kristen, we're trying to get the donations up before things close, at least for our challenge. Obviously, you can donate all year long, but our challenge ends on Wednesday.
Yes. I interviewed a woman who is somebody who goes to the food bank, and she was telling me that she's a single mom and she's going to college, and it just helps because the food bank gives out healthy food.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Full meals she can make for her family.
They service 14 of our 15 counties here in the KXAN viewing area. So these are our people. These are our neighbors. Let me show you what's going on with your forecast today, because we are going to be looking at some low clouds. But again, satellite has a hard time seeing those clouds. The radar is not showing me anything, and it won't today. We are going to stay dry. But man, this visibility is likely going to be a problem this morning. So telling you right now, you need some extra time. Low visibility in Austin, Georgetown, San Marcos, Lockhart, Bastrop. I mean, some of the bigger cities here that we have in Central Texas plagued with visibility 5 miles or less. So you want to make sure you're keeping that into consideration this morning. Your temperatures will be chilly in the 50s, but not terrible. In fact, most of us are actually much warmer than where we've been recently, not seeing nearly as many 40s on this map. So it's 50s to start. We're going to warm to the 60s by noon. Your forecast high today is going to be 78. The cloud cover, it'll thin some. Yesterday, those clouds were so stubborn, blew my forecast. So we stayed in the 60s all day long. But think with a little bit more of a southerly flow today, there will be more sunshine. The clouds will have a harder time kind of staying with us all day long, but it won't be a blue sky looking up today. Rain coverage continues to thin as well. Sunday, Monday with this next storm system, we're just not seeing the support. So I continue to drop your rain chances. This has been trending this way for the last few days. You'll notice the rainfall potential is really nothing I'm super excited about, but best opportunity for rain will come Monday. So Monday right now is a 20% chance of some isolated showers. I'm going to tell you right now, though, if you've got plans for next week, Monday, we could potentially see some severe weather to our north and east. Not in this area, but North Texas and potentially into the Mississippi Valley. Just wanted to put that on your radar if you're going to be traveling. Weekend forecast here at home, mainly cloudy tomorrow. High of 73. You'll notice we're a little bit cooler over the weekend. That's going to be cold front number 1. That just brings in about a 5-degree difference in the temperatures, but it's really not going to be a big jump or a drop, rather, until we hit next week. Look at cold front number 2. Cold front number 2 takes those upper 70s Monday and then keeps us in the 60s with high winds Tuesday. We'll roll into the Thanksgiving holiday with temperatures in the 60s and sunshine.
Kristen, thank you. Texas executed an inmate convicted of strangling a 5-year-old little girl and burning her body nearly 22 years ago. Prison officials in Huntsville carried out the sentence for 53-year-old David Renteria last night. Prosecutors say that he took Alexandra Flores in 2001 while she shopped for Christmas presents with her family at a Walmart. This was in El Paso, by the way. Authorities found her body the next day in an alley 16 miles from the store. Renteria long claimed members of the Barrio Azteca gang forced him to do it because they made threats to his family. The gang members actually killed her, he says. Authorities say evidence in the case shows he is the one who did it. Renteria was the 8th inmate in Texas to be put to death this year.
According to a new report from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, cases of measles increased nearly 20% globally last year. Texas health experts say while measles coverage is good in Texas, the pandemic caused vaccination rates to go down.
Measles is a highly contagious disease that can cause people to become very sick and even die. Because it's so contagious, we rely on high levels of protection in our communities to keep people safe. And the good news is that we've got really effective ways to do that through vaccinations.
This highly contagious virus, measles, spreads when a person sneezes or coughs. The state's chief epidemiologist that you just heard from told us because of high vaccination rates, reported cases of measles tend to be rare, including only 3 cases reported this year in Texas. A string of burglaries in East Austin has neighbors worried. The alleged suspect has been caught on camera over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, KXAN's Mercedes Hernandez spoke with the neighbors who say they are losing sleep wondering, who is this guy and what's going to happen next?
In the middle of the night and during the day, home surveillance cameras have caught this man across homes in University Hills.
I wouldn't be surprised if there are over 18 or 19 incidents just in the past, 2.5 weeks.
Haley Hensley lives here and says these are more than just neighborly visits.
Tried to enter the back door, the front door, and several windows. It woke me up in the middle of the night.
She says last week she was asleep when this man tried to break in. A police report indicates he stole electronics and sports equipment. But Hensley says her peace of mind was also taken.
There have been repeated hits at houses all along this area. It's terrifying. I haven't slept. I feel like every hour I'm waking up to look at my cameras to check the house.
Lorna Dorado also lives in the neighborhood. She says the man has been by her home twice, but hasn't broken in. She says her home of 9 years has always felt safe, but these burglaries have her on edge.
You know, I've never thought I would be scared of coming back to my home.
She's even made flyers and social media posts to warn neighbors about what's going on in the hope that this fear will end soon.
I hope this helps for his face to be all over, to people recognize him, for the police to finally catch this guy.
In East Austin, Mercedes Hernandez, KXAN News.
If you see him, make sure you call police. Okay, whatever you want to buy, Amazon probably has it. We know that. But did you know Amazon has cars too?
I can't believe it. No.
Yeah, me neither. The company says they will allow auto dealers to sell cars through their site beginning next year, starting with Hyundai. This comes after the company launched a digital showroom for shoppers to research and compare some cars. But the dealer is the end seller. Once you check out on the website, you're done. It will be delivered to the nearest dealership to you.
Remember that picture of Jeff Bezos in his garage with Amazon books? Now you can get cars. What's next? Okay, Austin Bergstrom International Airport just added a new nonstop route. Allegiant Airlines announced a new route to Eugene, Oregon, of all places. That's going to be launching on May 31st next year. So Eugene is known for its farmers markets, vintage shopping, and easy access to the Willamette National Forest and Oregon coast. Tickets, they're on sale now.
This is KXAN Sports, brought to you by Thomas J. Henry.
Good morning to you. For just the second time this season, Longhorns leaving the state of Texas for tomorrow's game against Iowa State. Horns have played some close ones, so stands to reason the kicking game could be a key. And lately, Bert Auburn has been nails. He's hit his last 11 consecutive field goals. Prior to that streak, he missed 5 of 14. There was some frustration with the kicking game, but he hung in there. The coach hung in there with him, and he got away from all the noise.
I've definitely deleted Twitter before, so stay off that. I mean, I'm on Instagram. The thing with Twitter is you have your following, but then recommended stuff comes up all the time too, and you can't control it. Yeah. And so obviously a ton of Longhorn, football stuff comes up. So I try to stay off Twitter. I learned a ton from Cameron Dicker my freshman year, just seeing how laid back he was and everything. That's the biggest thing I learned from Cameron. Wasn't anything technique-wise or something like that. It was just how his mindset and how laid back he was with it. Growing up, I would get a buzz cut, and then I was tired of going every other week to get a haircut, so just let it grow out, and that's what it turned to.
Do you use Head and Shoulders?
I do not.
But he's open for an NIL deal. Weather could be the factor for the first time this year as far as the cold temperatures, although it's supposed to be pretty mild in Ames. Temperatures might drop into the low 30s tomorrow. Second round of the high school football playoffs tonight. A big menu, including Westlake and San Antonio Reagan. You can watch it over on KBVO at 7:30. Back to you.
Those are some curls. Okay, thank you so much, Roger. For those listening on the KXAN Today podcast, thanks so much for joining us. Here's what else we're tracking on KXAN at 5, live from the first stop at the procession this morning for fallen officer Jorge Pastor, how fellow officers are remembering him.